Kristen, thanks. Along the same lines, minute past the hour, we're staying on top of a massive winter storm's slow crawl across the Northeast. The snow continues to fall in the early morning hours, and as you can see for yourself in this video, it is a lot of snow, but it's actually less than what some forecasters were predicting. New York is now projected to get up to 20 inches. Places like Connecticut will get about 2 feet. It's windy, too. Gusts are expected to top 60 miles per hour. It's even faster in some parts of the Northeast. Right now in parts of New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, it's illegal to be out on the roads driving. Schools in the area are closed for the day, and thousands of flights are also canceled, causing a ripple effect at airports across the country, including at ours. This is the departure board at the Sunport last night. You can see cancellations there. We did some checking just before news time. All flights in and out of the Sunport right now seem to be on time and throughout the day. But nearly every major airline announced yesterday they would waive change fees for customers who have to change their flight because of the weather. If you do have an upcoming flight or are picking somebody up from the Sunport, it's best to check its status online. You can check that for yourself at KRQE.com. Just find the story on the homepage and click on it.
Speaking of the Sunport website, the airport just launched an all-new website, abqsunport.com. It used to be part of the city website, and users would have to navigate through extra pages to get to the information they actually needed. Now users can find everything from flight arrival and departure times to terminal maps and New Mexico visitor information with just a few clicks. In other news, a concerned parent is warning others after what she found in the playground at a city park that could have sent her daughter to the hospital. Neighbors say Richland Hills Park near Golf Course and Paseo is pretty busy. It's in a residential area right next to Petroglyph Elementary School. A tipster has sent us pictures of one of a few thumbtacks she says she found around the playground yesterday afternoon. But they weren't just thrown around. She says one was wedged right in the spot where kids sit on a slide, and she only noticed it seconds before she was about to put her daughter down on it.
Hopefully, if the word gets around the neighborhood, people need to inspect the playground equipment for the kids before the kids get on it.
And we made sure the city knows about it too. After our call, Parks and Recreation Department workers came out to the park to have a look themselves. They checked the sand, the slides, and the rest of the park to make sure it was safe. Our tipster threw away the tacks she found, and the city says it didn't find any more.
5:03 this morning, a busy intersection in West Albuquerque is back open this morning after a deadly bicycle crash. It happened just before 7:30 last night at Coors and Paseo del Norte. APD is investigating what actually caused it. We have contacted police for more information on whether the driver stopped or will be facing charges. When we hear back from them, we will pass along the details. APD says a brazen Walmart heist, meantime, could help them out in another robbery investigation. Last October, 3 armed men held up the Walmart on Eubank off I-40. Police say they stole a safe with nearly $23,000 in cash inside. And now officers say one of the 6 suspects in that case, Raymond Castillo, was the alleged getaway driver for the suspect who shot at a 7-Eleven clerk last month near 12th and Lomas. The clerk survived. APD detectives are trying to determine if other Walmart suspects are also connected to the 7-Eleven robbery.
Albuquerque's mayor wants to brighten up downtown skyline and save on the city's power bill all at the same time. Right now, the Wells Fargo building, DoubleTree Hotel, Hyatt, and Bank of Albuquerque buildings are the only ones people notice when they look at the nighttime skyline. But Mayor R.J. Berry wants to brighten things up a bit. The city's looking to launch a program to make the city's street lights more energy efficient and cheaper to manage. The mayor says the savings from that could go toward helping building owners light up their buildings.
And if we can make the city look better, and if I can cut your electric bill as a taxpayer and do it all at the same time, that's a win-win for us.
Now, these plans are still in the very early stages. It's unclear how much all of this would save or ultimately cost. New questions this morning about security for the White House after a small drone crashed on the grounds. Today, we know more about how it got there. Secret Service calls the drone a quadcopter. It says a man later came forward saying he'd been flying the drone for fun and had not meant to fly it over the White House. It flew into the White House grounds around 3 on Monday morning. The drone, about 2 feet wide with 4 propellers, is raising questions, though, about whether Secret Service could bring down a similar object if it had to. No one was hurt by it. The president and first lady were in India at the time.
A sad ending to the search for a missing couple in Georgia. Police say they believe they found their bodies. The pair was found yesterday, only hours after the couple's car was also found submerged in a pond. Investigators are still waiting for positive identification on those bodies, but Bud and Jane Runyon were first reported missing Friday after the two were planning on driving to a small town in southeastern Georgia to look at a car they were interested in buying. 28-year-old Ronnie J. Towns, who owned the car the couple wanted to buy, was arrested on charges of giving false statements and criminal attempt to commit theft by deception. Police say he was the last person to speak to the Runyons. Two people are under arrest this early hour, accused of using young girls as prostitutes at a stock show in Colorado. A handful of victims were taken off the streets after the FBI says it launched a probe of the stock show in Denver in case any sex predators would surface.
Big events that draw a number of people from out of town, that's going to lend itself to prostitution. It's going to lend itself to those that profit by prostitution. And unfortunately, the exploitation of children is included in that.
Investigators say the victims in the case were between 14 and 17, and they had run away from foster care or group homes when the predators got to them. They also say the girls had been enslaved anywhere between 2 weeks and a year. All right, Kristen, thank you. We're staying on top of a massive winter storm's slow crawl across the Northeast right now. This is a live look in Boston, Massachusetts. You can't see much right now. The snow continues to fall in the early morning hours. You can see for yourself there are snowplow crews out trying to make an effort to clear the roads this morning. This is actually less snow, though, than what some forecasters were predicting. New York so far is now projected to get up to 20 inches. Places like Connecticut could get about 2 feet. It's windy, too. Gusts are expected to top 60 miles per hour, even faster in some parts of the Northeast. Right now, some areas in New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts say it's illegal to be out on the roads driving. Schools in the area are closed for the day.
In other news, a lawyer representing a former Santa Fe County deputy accused of killing a fellow deputy is now raising some serious questions about the investigation and about evidence found at the scene. According to court documents, white powdery substance was found inside the wallet of slain deputy Jeremy Martin. It was part of the evidence Las Cruces police gathered after Tai Chan allegedly shot and killed Martin in October while they were staying in Las Cruces after transporting a prisoner. Chan's attorney says he did not know about it until Friday when he went to the Las Cruces department to look at physical evidence in the case.
We learned on Friday that they had that evidence in a bindle, which is the way that street drugs such as cocaine and methamphetamine are sold, but they had not tested it.
We wanted to ask the Las Cruces Police Department why it was not tested. They referred us to the Doña County DA's office, which didn't call us back. Chad's attorney filed the motion for the evidence to be preserved and sent for testing. Martin's autopsy showed he had been drinking but tested negative for cocaine, meth, or heroin. Chan was not tested for drugs or alcohol. The murder trial is set for September.
5:33, a decision on whether a terminally ill patient has a right to take their own life in our state now rests in the hands of judges. The New Mexico Court of Appeals heard both sides of the right to die issue on Monday. The case stems from a Santa Fe woman diagnosed with uterine cancer.
I'm really honored to be able to serve in this role and to be part of the case. I'm just one person. There's thousands of people who are asking themselves some of the same kinds of questions that I asked myself. What will my final days really look like?
The problem is there may be circumstances in which the person isn't really at the end of their life, or the person isn't really mentally competent, and they're still prescribed the medication. So that's where the state interest lies.
Now it's a waiting game, and it may take up to a year for the court to make a final decision on if terminally ill patients can indeed get a prescription and take their own life. Last year, a district court judge ruled in favor of it, but the state AG's office disagrees, saying there is no statute allowing for doctors to assist in suicide. The city of Albuquerque could face a multi-million-dollar shortfall in next year's budget. The $14 million gap stems from the costs associated with the federally mandated reforms for the police department, reduced revenue from the state, and other factors. In fact, the mayor says it's just a prediction of adjustments the city will have to make when they put together next year's budget.
There'll be things that we'll have to do to make sure that we provide that value back to the taxpayer, but in general terms, I know 14 million looks unusual, like it's a big negative number, but quite frankly, the way we go about doing this, that's about an average number for the city of Albuquerque, and we'll be in fine shape going into the budgeting cycle.
The mayor has to formally propose his budget to city councilors by April 1st. The projection includes $5 million in costs to comply with a settlement agreement negotiated with the DOJ, which requires additional officer training, and the hiring of a federal monitor to oversee police reform. There's also about $3 million for a 1% raise for city employees and $3.5 million set aside for new projects, including the cost of a new library at Central and Unser.
If you use I-40, listen up. The speed limit is being reduced on a stretch of the interstate that's known to be busy and dangerous. The area of I-40 near Laguna has long been plagued by crashes, many of them deadly. Just last year, there was a fatal crash involving 2 semi-trucks. Police said speed was a factor at that time. Now the Department of Transportation has decided to drop the speed limit to 65 for a longer stretch in that area. It's already 65 in a 1-mile stretch, but will now be 65 for 3 miles. An unusual plane crash is all caught on video. Look at this. The pilot used a parachute to help the plane land gently into the Pacific Ocean near Hawaii. The pilot was able to survive the crash. Crew members on the Holland America were able to pull the pilot on board their ship and give him food and water. He is said to be in good condition this morning. The National Transportation Safety Board is now investigating what caused that plane to crash.
Construction worker says he's thankful to be alive after he survived being run over by a truck, and it was all caught on video. Watch, surveillance video shows Travis Roberts working on this manhole in Oregon when a pickup truck hits a cone and runs right over him. That's where it happened. He suffered a broken rib, muscle pain, and road rash, but he says he's otherwise okay. The driver of the truck was not charged, and authorities say it's unlikely that person will even be cited. The driver did stop after hitting Roberts and gave his insurance information. Roberts says he just wants to share that story to warn other drivers. Wow. Governor and lawmakers trade in their heels and loafers for gym shoes, and all for a good cause.
One day we're going to keep fighting and we will find a cure, but we have to keep fighting. It's a game that we can win, but we have to keep playing.
The Suits and Sneakers Challenge is part of the Coaches vs. Cancer program. It's a nationwide effort encouraging fans to donate money to the American Cancer Society. Lobo head coach Craig Neal spoke about his aunt, a cancer survivor, at the Roundhouse yesterday, and about Lobo guard Hugh Greenwood, whose mother's battling breast cancer. High school senior Isaac Velasquez also spoke about surviving testicular cancer.
My coaches stood by me this whole time through every treatment and everything I've done now through recovery. I've been practicing with the guys, playing with them, being with them on every trip, and seeing how we can get back on the court.
The governor donated $10,000 to Hugh Greenwood's Pink Pack Foundation. That money raised goes to the UNM Cancer Research Center.
And here are some facts that we dug up about cancer around New Mexico. More than 10,000 people in the state were diagnosed with cancer last year. 3,200 died from the disease, and nearly half of all cancer deaths can be avoided if we lived healthier lifestyles and took the recommended cancer screenings. Let's go back to the video real fast about the cancer video with Governor Martinez and her
pink socks.
How many times did that pop up in our video?
I know. I love it. I love it.
Good for
Neat
her.
Match there.